Milk did not suddenly become difficult for humans to digest. Humans didn't suddenly evolve backward. And your body didn't mysteriously fail where your grandparents thrived. What actually happened is far more uncomfortable. For thousands of years, milk was a stable, predictable food, slow, seasonal, fermented, alive. Then, in less than a century, we changed it so completely that the human body no longer recognizes it as food. And we blamed the body. We were told that lactose intolerance is a genetic flaw, that something inside us is broken, that digestion failed to keep up with progress. But that story is upside down. Because for most of human history, people consumed dairy without the chronic bloating, inflammation, and discomfort now considered normal. The discomfort came later. It came when milk stopped behaving like milk. Before we go any further, pause for a moment. Comment "I never knew this" if this already feels uncomfortable. Because once you see how this happened, you can't unsee it. Today, the prevailing belief is simple. Most adults can digest milk because they lose the enzyme lactase after childhood. This explanation appears in textbooks, medical pamphlets, and nutrition guidelines. It sounds scientific. It sounds settled. But it quietly skips over history. If lactose intolerance was simply the natural human condition, then milk would never have played the role it did for thousands of years across Europe, the Middle East, and large parts of Africa. Yet archaeological records tell a different story. Dairy vessels appear in Neolithic settlements. Residue analysis reveals fermented milk products used as early as 7,000 years ago. Medieval tax records list cheese, butter, and whey as staples. Monasteries produced dairy year-round. Alpine villages survived winters almost entirely on milk-derived foods. This was not marginal consumption. It was central to survival. The modern explanation often implies that humans evolved poorly. But history suggests the opposite. Humans adapted intelligently to milk until milk itself changed. What we call lactose intolerance today is not an ancient condition resurfacing. It is, in many cases, a modern mismatch between an industrial product and a biological system shaped by slow, local traditions. The question is not why so many people struggle with milk today. The question is, what happened to milk? In pre-industrial Europe, milk was rarely consumed fresh. It spoiled too quickly. Without refrigeration, raw milk had a narrow window. So people transformed it. They cultured it. They aged it. They allowed bacteria and enzymes to do what human digestion alone could not. Cheese, butter, kefir, skyr, clabber, these were not delicacies. They were preservation technologies. In medieval villages, milk was often fermented within hours of milking. The bacterial cultures consumed much of the lactose before the human ever did. What remained was a food that was denser, calmer, and far easier to digest. Even in regions where lactose tolerance genes were less common, dairy remained a staple, because it had been transformed. In early America, the pattern continued. Colonial farms did not sell milk as a beverage. They turned it into butter and cheese because raw milk spoiled quickly during transport. Milk was local, seasonal, and alive. Cows grazed on diverse grasses. Their milk composition changed with seasons. Fat structures varied. Enzymes were intact. Bacteria were present, not sterilized away. This was not a perfect system, but it worked with the human body, not against it. The rupture came later. Lactose is a sugar. To digest it, the body needs lactase. But digestion is not a single switch. It is a process shaped by context. When milk is fermented, bacteria partially break down lactose. They also produce enzymes, acids, and bioactive compounds that slow digestion and reduce inflammatory responses. When milk is raw or gently treated, its proteins remain intact in their natural shapes. The fat globules stay complex and coated with membranes the body recognizes. Industrial processing changed all of that. Pasteurization uses high heat. Homogenization blasts fat molecules into unnatural sizes. The structure of milk is physically altered. This doesn't just kill bacteria. It changes how proteins fold, how fats interact, and how the immune system interprets what arrives in the gut. To the body, modern milk behaves less like food and more like an unfamiliar substance. So digestion becomes work instead of cooperation. This is not about being weak or sensitive. It is about biological mismatch. If this is changing how you think about milk, take a moment to like this video. It helps surface conversations that usually get buried. The true rupture occurred in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Urbanization demanded milk that could travel. Shelf life became more important than digestibility. Safety became defined as sterility rather than balance. Pasteurization solved real problems: disease outbreaks, contamination, inconsistent handling. But it also removed complexity that the human body had co-evolved with. Then homogenization arrived. Fat globules were shattered into microscopic fragments, preventing separation but also altering digestion. Milk became uniform, stable, and predictable. And lifeless. By the mid-20th century, milk had become an industrial fluid, not a living food. At the same time, cows were bred for volume, not quality. Diets shifted from diverse pasture to grain-based feed. Seasonal rhythms disappeared. Milk became standardized year-round. The product stayed white. The label stayed the same. But biologically, it was something new. And human digestion responded accordingly. When modern milk enters the digestive system, several things happen differently. The altered proteins can resist breakdown. The fragmented fats move faster through the gut. The absence of microbial companions leaves digestion incomplete. For many people, this results in fermentation where it shouldn't happen, in the colon instead of the vat. Gas, bloating, inflammation, discomfort. Not because the body is defective, but because it's encountering a substance it did not evolve alongside. Historically, milk arrived already transformed by bacteria. Now the body must do that work alone. This is why many people can tolerate aged cheeses but not milk, or fermented dairy but not ultra-pasteurized cream. The pattern is consistent. The body recognizes food that has been prepared the way food always was. Traditional cultures didn't avoid dairy. They respected it. They fermented it, aged it, consumed it in rhythm with the seasons, paired it with physical labor and sunlight. They understood intuitively what modern systems ignored: digestion is contextual. In alpine villages, cheese is aged for months. In Eastern Europe, kefir cultures were passed through generations. In the British Isles, raw milk was consumed close to the source. These were not trends. They were survival strategies. The disappearance of these practices wasn't caused by new science discovering better methods. It was driven by scale, efficiency, and transport economics. Milk became a commodity first, a food second, and the body paid the price. This story is not about nostalgia. It is about memory. Not cultural memory, biological memory. The human body remembers how it learned to digest food. It remembers cooperation, fermentation, time. When we say people became lactose intolerant, we are really saying something else. We changed the food faster than the body could adapt. The problem was never milk. It was forgetting how milk once was. If you want to continue uncovering the history of modern life buried, not to romanticize the past, but to understand the present, then stay with this channel. Subscribe, and keep questioning what we were told was normal. Because sometimes, the truth isn't lost. It's just been processed out.